All right, let's go back to our guest line. It's a bye week. Let's bring on the voice of the Orange, Matt Park. Matt, what are you up to on your bye week?
Feeling sick.
Oh, really?
That hasn't been a lot of fun. No, just trying to kick that a little bit. It hasn't felt like a bye week yet, really. I mean, until maybe tonight. We won't have a Coach Babers radio show, and then tomorrow will be a little lighter. And Saturday we've got the basketball event in Rochester, so still a game day in a way, but a little less, and not traveling as we have the past couple of weeks.
Matt, it's the bye week, and this came up earlier on the show, and I'm sorry to do this to you, but you got any advice for me to find someone to go to a pumpkin patch or apple picking with me this weekend?
Because that's not an event you do solo. Is that?
Yeah. I don't. You can't go pumpkin patch by yourself.
What about like an Uber driver? Maybe there could be Uber for.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Tuber. It could be tuber for pumpkins. Or those are gourds actually, but maybe that's your answer. Maybe you can start that.
Oh yeah, my friend decided to wait in the car for me. It's too cold.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to get it through to Syracuse fans that this is the week. If you're going to go apple picking or pumpkin,
now would be
patch,
the time. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah,
peak foliage
and there's no game.
Time to be out there and not miss a game on the weekend. Yeah, schedule gets a little funky here at this time of year.
And I'm sorry to hear you're not feeling well, but this would be the week to get sick too, right? I mean, no game to go.
Yeah, not ideal, but we're trying to overcome the funk, but we're going to survive.
All right, let's talk some football now. This team's 4-3, and the funny thing about it is that so many people were predicting they'd be 4-3 through 7 games, but it seems like fans are kind of all over the place right now with their expectations the rest of the way. You are often the voice of reason. You've seen this team play 7 games. 4-3 right now. What are you expecting the rest of the way out of this team? Can they turn it around and get out of this funk? Obviously, great opponents they just played, but it didn't look all that good the last 3 weeks.
No, I think you're exactly right that 4-3 is what pretty much everybody could have expected at this time of year. I think the discouraging part, the last couple of games have been not competitive. They've been very lopsided to the point where you didn't feel like, at least in the Clemson game, you felt like if the ball bounced this way or that, or if you didn't have this penalty, you could deceive yourself into thinking that this is a fair fight and Syracuse could win the game. And they maybe could have with a couple of different breaks or lack thereof at home. The last 2 games on the road against, let's face it, the 2 teams that right now are on track to meet in the conference championship game. They very well could. It's not going to stun me if Florida State goes a whole long way this year. I think they're loaded. So I'm not too down about the last 2 games. I think it comes right to what we said all along. This season is going to be determined by how healthy you are and how well you play in the last 5 games, and that's what they've got teed up. I think the bye week came at an ideal time if you're going to have that difficult 3-game stretch. I think the last couple of weeks maybe could have been a little more encouraging in terms of something to make you feel optimistic about the competitiveness of the last 5. But none of these last 5 opponents are to be feared. I think you can line up toe-to-toe with all of them with no problem. So I'm still pretty optimistic and in a good frame of mind here as far as these last 5 games are concerned. And let them play out. And I think wherever it lands will determine the fate here of what kind of bowl you're in and another statement on the program and all of that. We'll come by it honestly, I think, here in these next 5 games.
You look at the offense, and the last 2 games in particular, the offense was just stifled and really couldn't move the ball. And, Dino was asked after the Florida State game about, what adjustments need to be made after the bye week moving forward with your offense. He said, well, the biggest adjustment is, we're not going to be playing Florida State and North Carolina. The opponents aren't quite the same. In your mind, is that the biggest reason for the offensive struggles, or do you think things do need to change to some degree to get back to how it was kind of humming along during the non-conference?
No, I do think that is the biggest change. I think the rest of the opponents are more on par with Purdue than they are with Florida State and North Carolina in terms of overall talent level. Now, they are conference opponents. They are going to scout you better. It's later in the season. You're not pulling any real tricks or surprises on people. You still don't have a Rondé Gadsden. I think that's a big difference maker. It's among the reasons that the receivers aren't getting open at the rate that they were early in the season. But I still like, I believe in Garrett Schrader. I believe in the Quint Allen. Are they, explosive playmaking players in this last part of the season? I don't know about that necessarily, but they're certainly capable. I think barring further injuries, the way the roster is right now, there's enough there to win games the rest of the way. So I don't think you can lose a whole lot more and feel great about it. But I'm confident that the coaches know what they're doing and can get people in the right places to make an impact here. I'd like to see certainly improved play across the board, but I don't think they're incapable.
Can you give us an idea of what a typical bye week is like for this team? And, Dino talks about letting the players go home for a few days. At what point are they back on campus? At what point are they, working on the next opponent versus is the rest of this week just spent on fundamentals, and then next week it's talking about Virginia Tech? Can you kind of walk us through that?
Yeah, I don't know the exact specifics this time around, but I know the way they generally approach it is to get the core players off their feet a little more, get what Coach Babers would call the underbelly, get those guys more involved in practice. Maybe, there's still time left in this year. Maybe there's somebody who's been a developmental player that there is a role, or if they do become next man up, they're there. But I really think that has more to do with just kind of bringing along people that are not in the mix for this year. And have a couple of practices that are serious enough that you can keep your top players sharp and in shape. Then let them loose for the weekend. Come back on, probably Sunday with the idea of ramping up back for your game plan on Virginia Tech. And I'm sure they've already implemented some of what they're trying to do in that game. The coaches get a little time to not only self-scout, which again becomes well-timed here at the midway point of the year, basically, but a chance to turn their attention back to recruiting as well and travel if need be. So that's kind of what everybody does. But I think it's a mixture of rest and trying to just be the sharpest you can be for when the season resumes.
All right, Matt, I do want to ask you one basketball question before we let you go. Obviously, a week from tomorrow, the first preseason game. What are you most looking forward to getting out of these, these preseason games, exhibition games, whatever you want to call them, before they jump it up for real against New Hampshire?
Well, I think chemistry. What kind of patterns do you see playing off of? Your best known commodity and your best player is Judah Mintz. Everybody knows that. What does he bring to the table this year that's any different than last in terms of the feedback he got from his NBA flirtation? Does he try to shoot more? Does he shoot better? Does he get to the rim as well or as much? To what degree is he facilitating others? We'll be keeping an eye on that, I think. So many new players, so where do they fit? We've been in a couple of these charity events with the team, and, Naheem McLeod is just such a gigantic human being. You can't miss him. He obviously has everything there to make an impact on the court, but he plays in a different way than we're used to with Jesse Edwards these last couple of years. What types of plays work for him? Are they waiting for him to come up the floor? Are they running without him? Are they running with him? Those are all things that I think are important to see. The types of roles that the returning players like Justin Taylor fit into, and Chris Bell, but then your new guys, your Kyle Cuffs of the world and your Chance Westry, the things you guys have been talking about here, where do they all fit and who gets minutes? I think that part, not that the exhibition games are going to be locked in cement and determining all this stuff, but it's your first sort of window into who does what well. What are your unknowns, and you get a better sense of that. And then I think once the season starts, you rely on your knowns, and that's certainly Mintz, and we know what Malik Brown does and some of those people, and mix in your new features.
Yeah, well said. Listen, feel better. Sorry you're under the weather, but hope you're better in no time, and we'll do it again next week.